coach of the equestrian team, Kim Leiter, joining us here on Skyhawk Sports Talk. Coach, thanks so much for joining us, and a big weekend up ahead for your team. Number 1 TCU coming into town, and also number 6 Georgia.
Absolutely. It's a big one. We're ready, though. We're excited.
So 4 meets in right now with your team. What have you learned about them? Obviously had that really good meet against Auburn, beat South Dakota State. So what have you found out about them?
So we started off a little rough, but now they have finally bought in and they believe in themselves. They came back and after the second half of Auburn down, but after winning the horsemanship, and all of a sudden there was this energy that they ignited in themselves. So they are finally pushing themselves to the point where they can do this. And it was really palpable that they believed that they were going to win. Instead of just saying, we believe we're going to win, they put that effort out, and they had Auburn running. So that's really what we've been capitalizing on the last 2 weeks, is knowing we can. We are good enough. We are not different than. We are as good or, and better. We also have been really focusing on, and they've been talking about, is they just have to be 10% better to beat them. Instead of, where they're at, they need to be a little bit better every day. And it's been really fun because they're pushing themselves. I don't have to push them in practice. They're coming to practice ready to work. And so they have that inner drive that is coming within the team, which is huge. Yeah.
I also think it's very cool. Rarely on this campus have we gotten to host some of the top teams in the country. You are one of the top teams in the country, but you're also bringing in that
SEC, Big 12. Those big schools. Yeah. And the coolest part about, even after Auburn, was the Auburn coach called and said, wow.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. What is their perception of coming to this small town in West Tennessee?
Well, I think they come in thinking they've got us handled, but then realize that they were coming after them. And so I got to talk to both the head coach and the head coach emeritus from Auburn afterwards, because they both said, our team can learn from you. They're so cool. One of the things they also take away from us is your girls do all the work. Our girls don't do that. We wish we had some of that, because that work ethic and that drive, that buy-in, right, that it's their team, it's their horses. And so I think they're learning as much from us as we can learn having to fight them. So I think it was really good.
I love that.
And I want to talk about your team also. I mean, that self-work and everything and the energy that they're building up, but also moving into some of the community events that you all have coming up.
Yep.
I know you just had the book walk and read to some of the kiddos, partnered with the Martin Library and that. Also had some arts and crafts. What's up next for you?
So we have a huge thing Saturday. So Saturday starts at 8:30. We'll have the horses up. The game starts officially at 9. It'll be a neutral meet. So when we host TCU and UGA, they also play each other on our horses. So not only do we have to play them, but we also have to get our horses ready and host them to play each other. So when that starts off, we're going to do Saturday morning trick or trot with the community. So kids can come out and get dressed. We'll have games and candy and the horses to meet the horses. And then at 10 a.m., they're going to do Captain Skyhawks is going to do a costume contest, and we're going to have some prizes given away. So Captain Skyhawks is going to get to be there with some of the horses up on the mezzanine. And so last year was our first year doing it with face painting. Some of the girls are doing the face painting and for the kids, and it was really, really fun last year. So we're really looking forward to it this year.
And for some of the little ones, it'll be their first interaction with a horse.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have little kid jump set, so they can do a little jump course and some things and some fun activities for them. And then they can come in, and we're going to wrap up about the time our meet starts, and they can watch a little bit of action in the arena. So that'll be exciting.
I think it would be great too
for the UGA meet.
Yeah, for some of our athletes, if they got face painted.
Well,
you
had just dress up and go.
Yeah, no, we should. We should dress up. I'll be Batman. You can be Superman, and we'll both show up.
Cool. My little face painting was I got a little ghost with a cowboy hat. They were really into the cowboy hats and all the little. Yeah. So anyway, it'll be fun.
That is awesome. So for those people that are going to stop by for equestrian, and I went by during the South Dakota State meet, and Coach, I will be completely honest with you. I think I interviewed you one time last year back in the TV studio and tried to talk to you about trying to learn the sport a little bit.
Absolutely.
And when I showed up, it was my first event that I've ever been to, and I'll be honest, I was lost. I did not know what was going on. So if you could just kind of give us a equestrian 101, just a brief, what goes on during a meet,
right.
How do you earn points? And for the people that are watching, just what are they watching and what needs
Right.
to be achieved by our team to win and things like that.
So it's a lot. So you'll see the horses being warmed up by our riders. So that part's part of it, and there's no competition. And then each team gets 4 minutes to warm up the horses. So you'll see, for example, if you were getting to watch the fences, you'd see UGA warm up their horses for 4 minutes, and UTM gets the horses
and again,
for 4 minutes.
They're your horses.
They're our horses.
So they're meeting this horse for the first time.
They get to watch it warm up. They get to watch our riders school it over the jump, school it if it's in the reining, school it to the run and stop, so they can kind of see what they think. Then they get 4 minutes and 4 jumps. They don't get to jump the whole course. They get to jump they get to pick 4 jumps to jump, and then they've got to figure that out and then go show that course. So it's just kind of picking and choosing and finding that out, right? So you'll see that warm-up happen. Then they'll come in and they'll compete 5 riders. Then what happens is then we re-warm up the second half, and so they're going head-to-head. So say it's Zazu, and he's going in the fences. They'll get to ride UGA or UTM will ride it first, and then there'll be a second set of warm-ups, and then they get to ride it. So the first half, there's just scores, and it's like, what's happening? So you're just getting that first 5. They're getting their set of scores. Well, the second set comes in and warms up, and now it's comparing that score. If it's 88 to an 89, that 89 wins. So the high score wins. If they tie, then it's a tie and no points given. So that second half's where all those points start coming in.
Gotcha.
Oh.
Has there ever been a true connection between your team and another team's horse, or vice versa, where you're like, I want that horse?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh.
Everyone
They're
wants
always
Frappe?
like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, probably not, because he's a little hard to ride. They probably don't love him as much as we love him. But, like, absolutely, on the way home from when we were just at Georgia, they're like, can't we just put this one on the bus and bring it home? Yeah, for sure. They have the ones that they connect with. Everybody has a ride that's more theirs. If it's a more forward ride or a more push ride versus one you've got to hold a little bit, and every girl has a little strength, and they'll find that one that's really their ride, and they get on, and they're just like, simpatico, and off they go. Yeah. That happens sometimes. It's great. Yeah.
So we're going to have a Halloween on Saturday.
Yep.
Trick
Trick or trot.
Trick or trot.
Because trot's a gear. Yeah,
Yeah,
the gate for the horses. So trick or trot.
So
yeah.
Trick or Trot on Saturday, and UT Martin playing Georgia on Friday, and then
Nope. TCU on Friday.
TCU on Friday, and then Georgia
on
on Saturday. Had that flip. Okay.
Yep.
So make sure everyone come out. We've also learned some more about equestrian,
Yep.
so come out and support
When
the
do they
Skyhawks.
face each other?
Then so they'll do half of their meet on Friday, and then half on the Saturday morning. Gotcha. So they'll do 2 events, because there's 4 events, so then they'll do 2. So our horses have to go twice on, each day. So
Gotcha.
Yep. Half and half. But it'll be fun to watch, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Fight it out. TCU's, they've been having a great year, but they come away and face Georgia on neutral territory, which will be a lot more fun, because then nobody knows the horses. So that's always fun. We're doing that at Delaware. Like, we get to play somebody neutral, right? We get to play Baylor on horses that Baylor or us don't know, and that's always a little more of a fair battle, right?
Yeah, no
so
doubt.
It's cool.
More of a challenge.
More of a challenge for them, for sure. Absolutely. Fun.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck this weekend. Going to
Awesome.
be a big
Thank
and
you.
fun weekend.
Yep, look forward to seeing you there. I expect to see you dressed.
Well, we'll be in Bowling Springs, but I'll be dressed up. I'll be at the football game there, but I'll bring my Batman mask
there you
over
go.
there.
Send us a picture.
Yeah,
All right.
there we go.
Thanks.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
The Skyhawk Sports Talk Podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
Time for the OVC Cross Country Championships for the UT Martin Cross Country team. And joining us now on the program, Jolita Henderson, head coach.
Davis, I'm going to hijack you
Yeah,
right
go
now,
ahead.
Because you're the fun coach. All right?
Okay.
Today is Davis's birthday.
It is?
Yeah, and we have not
Thank you.
even
Thank
mentioned
you.
it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No.
Thank you.
How
So
old are
why don't you
50?
ask? Why don't you ask him?
So
a couple of questions.
we're flipping the script now?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
But I
No.
just know you're the fun coach. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But no, I asked him how old he was. You don't have to disclose it, or
What are
you
you
can.
trying
No, I don't care.
Yeah.
23.
Oh.
It's the Jordan year.
Aw.
Okay,
It's
okay.
the Jordan year.
Ballin'.
Jordan year.
And I asked him how old he felt earlier, because that's a big part of how old you
Yes.
are. Is how old, when you look in the mirror, what do
Mhm.
you see? And he
How
said,
would you feel?
25.
You feel 25?
That's how I felt.
You know, I tell people all the time, like, for me, I'm 29, but on paper, I'm probably a good 45.
"Really?
Like, being a
Really?
head coach ages you like presidency.
Yeah.
Oh, I promise.
No, I
Ask
agree.
anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I
No,
promise
because
it
you're
does.
managing a lot of
It is.
personalities
And
people.
recruiting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And players in general,
Mhm.
and maybe sometimes they get in trouble, maybe they don't, you
Yep.
know. And so you have to handle that, but then also, go back and be a parent, and then
Yep.
go back and have a personal life and try to find time for yourself. So I know
Yes.
I guess we'll just go on that path. Talk about some of the challenges, for you as a coach, one of the youngest coaches on campus and in the OVC. I mean,
and you were also the first African American female coach
Right.
in the history of the Ohio Valley
Yes.
Conference,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's a big deal.
Yes.
So just
one of the
talk about
youngest.
just some of the challenges and how you handle everything as being a head coach.
Am I handling it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
No, I think we do a pretty good job. Challenges is, a lot of people come in and never been coached by a woman before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, can I get my male athletes on board with what I say? Can I get my females on board to not challenge me in what I say?
Right.
Because I'm so young, the question is like, do you really know what you're talking about? But then when they see the results, they're like, okay, I can trust her. Like, oh, she's good. She got it.
So how are you different now?
How am I different now?
Yeah, than you were a couple of
I've
years
grown
ago.
so much.
Yeah.
Like when I started here at 22 as a GA when we first started the program, I was like, this is crazy. Like I was like, who does this? Nobody chooses to do this. But now, like, I have the utmost confidence in my abilities, in my sport, in my athletes, in myself. Like when I go to OVC, like, and other coaches see me, I know that they're challenged by me. Like they're like, oh, well, that's Coach Leah. Like she actually knows what she's doing. Like she's good.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was like, oh, because I ran at Murray State, so it's like, oh, well, that's Coach K's athlete. Even when I was a coach, even when I became a head coach, it was like, oh yeah, she's just she's just getting into this. But now it's like,
You know what I see in you? I see a joy for what you're doing
Mm-hmm.
and an energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't always see that in coaches.
Yes.
Yeah. No, and I mean, and I think that's got to trickle down to your athletes.
Yeah, it has to. I'm very, very passionate about coaching. I'm very passionate about helping people in general, which is why I carry so many titles around here. Whatever I can do to help somebody, that's what I want to do. So, yeah.
And it's such a big weekend coming up, and we talked about it on the Skyhawk Caravan before. The men's team finished runner-up last year. Women's team had a strong performance in the OVC championships. Going to Moorhead, Kentucky, just talk about some of the expectations and the difficulties that are on that course over there in Moorhead.
Big difficulty is the drive.
Yeah.
We're being honest.
No, it is.
We're being honest. It's the drive.
You go to Lexington and then you go another
Yes,
hour.
and
You
it's
go
like, oh
towards
my
Virginia.
goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so
that's a long way.
You're going 5.5 hours.
You're in the mountains of eastern Kentucky.
Yes, and weather is probably going to be something that we have to deal with because they run so early in the morning. We'll just see. This will be our first time there at that course, so we'll preview it the day before, and hopefully it's not too bad.
I would assume there's a lot of elevation. I don't
There
know.
is.
Okay.
There is some. There is some. It's on a golf facility. It's on a golf course. So, yeah, we'll just see it when we get there. I mean, we looked at the course that they sent out, and it looks fine. But, I mean,
Once you get there,
yeah,
and you actually,
that's different,
Yeah,
It's just different.
and I know that last year you won the Tennessee Tech meet, the men won that meet, and then you went and raced at that same place, correct?
Yes.
And so obviously you had some familiarity with, okay, we know when this turn's coming, we know when we have to turn it on at this point in time. But so now it's something a little bit new, is that you haven't been there before.
Yeah, so usually when you have conference, you like to race at that course before conference. Usually they host like a meet or something like that. Well, Moorhead being so far from everybody in our conference, who's going?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, we're not going to take that drive to get on that course. So we just going to see what happens.
Right. But obviously the scouting will be great and going in there and making sure that you all are well prepared for that. But I want to go back to some of the personal things for you. You mentioned at Murray State, and during your time there, a student athlete, did track and field, but didn't do cross country.
Yeah, I
is
did
that
run
correct?
cross.
So, what was the biggest thing you learned as your time as a student athlete?
Biggest thing that I learned was discipline. I will say that, big discipline. My story of running is not like everybody else's. I didn't run my sophomore year of college because I had a kid in college, and then I got married in college. So I was grown up, but still had to be a Division I athlete, and I feel like I handled that really well. But it took a lot of time management, a lot of discipline of like, okay, you have to do this at this time, this at this time, this at this time, which ultimately I feel like prepared me to be a mother and a head coach now. Yeah. Like, so you'd be amazed at some of the things that you had to go through in life.
That's a lot that was thrown at you
it
in your
is.
sophomore year. I mean, those are big life things.
They are.
And they were pow.
Yeah. But, just take it on the chin and you got to keep going.
Right. And Brooke Skoog, one of your athletes, a
Yes.
graduate transfer from Grand Canyon, she's also a mom and a student
Yes.
athlete. So what have been some of the things you've seen from her that you've taught her just in her journey right now at UT Martin?
Well, I tell her all the time that she's an inspiration. I tell her, yes, we make the decisions that we make and we end up in situations that we end up in, but that has not stopped you, and don't let it stop you. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. I did it. You can do it, you know? And she handles it with poise and with grace. Her little son, he's there before we leave for meets. She's holding him, and she's he's there, and then it's okay, mommy has to go, and it's the cutest thing ever. And then her family meets us at the race, and then he's there, so it's nice.
That's another quality I see in you. A lot of people have limiting beliefs that they don't even realize this belief limits me because I can't do this and this, or I'm this person, I can't do this. You seem to just, with your athletes and with yourself, just kind of toss them to the side and say, you know what, forget all of this. I'm going to do what I want to do and how I need to do it.
It does not matter. I don't care what cards we are dealt. We're going to play the best hand possible. You know what I'm saying? And I like to be everybody's biggest cheerleader. I want you to succeed. I want you to be great. So what can we do to get you there? Yeah.
And it's not just, for your team. I see you at soccer. I see you over at football. You've got a jersey. You've got a Baylor Jones baseball jersey.
Stop.
You are everywhere. You are everywhere, supporting not just your team, but everybody else as well.
Yes, I love it. And I, added another team to my roster, equestrian.
Oh, yes.
So, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
you got to go to Trick or Trot and show up and get dressed up for that, for Halloween. Oh, well, yeah. Well, you can dress up there, and
there
then
you go.
we'll both send a picture
There you
to
go.
Coach Leiter, and we'll say, "Hey, we're rooting y'all on this weekend
for
your
sure.
meet, Yeah, hey, I'm just one more final question for you. Back in that time as being a student athlete, who made the biggest impact on you as a coach in your time there at Murray State?
My coach, Coach Adam Kiesler, hands down. He's the reason why I work here now. He's the reason why I kept going. He is the reason why I have so much confidence in myself. That man told me, he was like, when you walk into a room, he was like, you carry the same title as everybody else in here. So act like it. Even when I was 25, he said, act like it. It doesn't matter. And he said, when my athletes see you, they know. Don't second guess them. Don't, because guess what? I taught her. And I know what I can do.
Right.
So then I carried it on for myself. I'm like, shoot, I was trained by Adam Kiesler. And
That's
so I want my athletes to be like, I was trained by Jolita Henderson.
Yeah, you're paying it forward.
Yes,
Right.
and just keep it going. So, yes.
And this has been great, Coach. Of course, good luck this weekend at the OVC Cross Country Championships, and then the NCAA coming up here soon as well. So good luck to you in that. And obviously, thanks so much for joining us for all these episodes as well. 10th one coming up next week.
Yeah.
That one's going to be a fun one, and look forward to talking about the recap in that one.
Perfect.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
The Skyhawk Sports Talk Podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
Joining us, head coach of the UT Martin soccer team, Mike Vargas. It's time for the postseason for UT Martin. The Skyhawks make the OVC tournament with first-year head coach Mike Vargas. Coach, thanks so much for joining us, and congrats first year making it to the conference tournament.
Yeah, thank you. This time flies. You said this is episode 9 already, too.
Episode 9.
This is it's going fast.
It is crazy. It is insane. But just want to recap first the week before, senior night. Youth Soccer Appreciation Night. That was a hit. All the kids out there playing soccer at halftime. They had a great time. Big crowd as well for Code Orange. And then a draw against a SIUE team that has been an incredible program over these past couple years. And then a SEMO team that had a pretty good overall record as well, and then drew with them. Just your overall thoughts on how that regular season went.
Yeah, well, first, it goes so fast. It's first time through, so learning the opponents. When we get to the last weekend, I knew we could finish anywhere from potentially second to even at that time out of the tournament. So important games the last 2 matches against a team two teams that have done pretty well in the conference and both picked to finish ahead of us. And it was good to get 2 shutouts. I think we created some very good opportunities. In both games we had a couple breakaways, and we've got to be able to finish those. But overall, never satisfied if you're not holding a trophy at the end of the year. But I think we're in a good place to go into the postseason.
And getting the 5 seed, going to play Little Rock, the 8, in the first round in Evansville, Indiana. If you win that, then play Southern Indiana, of course, at their place. But I want to go all the way back. You got here 2 weeks before the season started. And what were just your expectations going into the season, and then you look at right now? Just compare that.
Yeah, no, it's the girls asked me right away, what do you think, what are we going to be this year? And I think coaches that come into a program that have built-in excuses, it's easy to say this is going to be rebuilding or it's going to be whatever the case may be, but that's not fair. It's not fair to the seniors, not fair to the returning players, not fair to student athletes that only have 4 years to do this. So I told them we're going to maximize every ounce of what we can do, and the goal for us is to win the conference and go into the NCAA tournament. That's the goal, and I truly believe that from the start, even without seeing some of the teams, and I think the girls right away thought that was something that we could do too, and it's still in reach for us. So that was the plan.
You're in the tournament. You can still go to the NCAA tournament.
100%.
That's still alive.
Yep.
And, I mean, I know it's a totally different sport, but basketball, SEMO last year, they were the 5 seed and then won the entire way out and then ended up winning the conference tournament championship. And then last year, volleyball, Tennessee State, they got hot and won the conference tournament championship. I think from one of those lower seeded spots, too, playing on one of the first days. So I guess that leads me to this. When you saw the bracket for the first time and you saw your matchups and you all's draw, what'd you think?
It's been a long time since we played Little Rock, and there's been a lot of difference with their lineups, with our lineups. So we'll get into that this week a little bit more. But I thought that was a matchup that was, we feel like we could have won that match. I'm sure they feel like they could have won that match. It was a draw. The big thing is we're going to play on grass. So I think, I haven't been to Southern Indiana yet. I've heard it's a good facility, good field. So that's something that I think that we play on grass here. It's good to play on natural grass, even though we've had some pretty good results on turf this year.
You've coached for a long time. This is your first year at UTM. Do you approach the tournament any differently than you do the regular season?
Yeah, I think the way I always look at this is before you get into conference, those matches are preparing you for your conference matches. And then as much as you want to win the conference regular season for us, this is a one-bid league. So the regular season is basically putting you in position for the postseason, and this is where the fun starts. You get into the tournament, and it's win or you're done. And I think it's just you got to be ready to play, and I think the girls are. So it should be a fun few days.
And when you get into these situations where it's one and done in the postseason, I mean, what's your approach and what's that message that you tell your team? Obviously, you want them to come in with a fire, to run the table, keep winning games, but also recognize that it's just 90 minutes in front of us. I mean, what is your message to them?
I mean, it is. It's another game. It's a team that we've already played. You get into these, and I think the important part is the preparation. The more prepared players feel, the more confident they are when they step onto the field. So I think it's preparation with scouting reports and preparation with individual scouting reports of the other team and their individual tendencies, and then just be ready to get out there and let's buzz around for 90 minutes.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
The Skyhawk Sports Talk Podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
The UT Martin volleyball team, winners of 4 straight games. Davis Gregory here. To my left, Chris Brinkley. To my right, head coach of the UT Martin volleyball team, Jacqueline Wilson, on our 9th episode here, Skyhawk Sports Talk. And Chris, this isn't Coach Wilson's first time on a podcast.
No, I just want to. We talked about this on the Caravan, but we've never talked about your other podcast duties on this podcast because you're a podcast veteran because you co-host a podcast with your dad.
A podcast veteran.
Yeah.
I guess you could call me that.
Well, no.
I wouldn't refer to myself as that, but I have done a little podcast.
No, but you were in a studio in Nashville. How many episodes did you do?
Oh, my goodness. 10 to 12, but it was, I think, 9 to 10 stories because there were a couple that were 2 parts. So having to
No, I'm a
record
fan.
different
Let's
episodes.
quickly cross promote your dad. Tell people that your dad's an author, but before he was an author, actually, her dad. I'm flipping through CBS one night, and 48 Hours is on the show that's like Dateline NBC on NBC, and your dad is on there, and I'm like, I know him.
Yeah.
So tell us about your dad.
Oh, but yeah, I'm Big Daddy's girl, super proud of all his accomplishments. But his passion is writing, and he has, a lot of other interests and hobbies, but he loves to write. And so he has a handful of books out, fiction and nonfiction. And one of the books was Dead Before Deadline and Other Tales from the Police Beat. And that's kind of, been what the podcast has been about. It's stories that he covered when he was on as a newspaper reporter, covering the police beat. Some funny, sad, weird, all sorts of different stories. So the latest one that came out, I won't go into details because it might not even be appropriate on here, but it's one of my favorites. It's just one of the most bizarre but interesting stories we did.
And what's cool about your dad, again, his journalist background and being a writer, he tells the story in a way that is interesting, but it's also very thorough. And your part in the podcast is kind of the part of the listener. And when I hear your dad and I think, I want to ask a question, you usually jump in as the co-host and ask the question that the listeners want to ask.
Well, that's kind of what the goal was, for me too. And it's funny, I've heard a lot of these stories growing up, but when I know what story we're going to go in on that episode, I don't want to talk with him about it. Like say the night before at dinner, we don't review the stories we're going to go over because I want it to be authentic. I don't want it to be scripted. It's more in the moment. Now with that, some of the questions I ask, he'll be like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't like that answer. Like, I want to know, this is an important piece to me.
And that's your journalism background also right there.
Right.
It's Dead Before Deadline. Robin Yoakum and Jacqueline is on there. Check out his books. Check out the podcast. Okay, let's talk
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Volleyball.
I'm going to have to check it out too.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right.
He was in the house for the wins this weekend.
Hey, there we
and
go.
he'll be there this next weekend.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, and let's get to those wins. You sweep Tennessee State on Tuesday and then beat SIUE this week and sweep them in both of those, 5 sets on Friday and then 4 on Saturday. But able to sweep them in that 2-game series. I mean, this week had to feel good for you and your team. And what was the key going into this week and able to get 3-0?
Yeah, I'll back up just a little. After we lost to Western Illinois at home last Friday, we were at a kind of a fork in the road and talking about which direction our team was going to go because we were so much better than that performance, and it was a pretty big letdown for us. And so we kind of, since that next Saturday when we got the win against Western and then leading into this week, I really feel our team has gained some confidence. We kind of went back and looked at our preseason schedule, which was the toughest we've ever scheduled. I was trying to prepare us and build confidence and get us ready for conference play. Well, in turn, it kind of beat down our confidence. And, I went back and we looked over all their conference records. I mean, there's teams we played that are undefeated, multiple in their conferences right now, 1 loss in their conference. Every team we played practically in preseason is crushing conference.
In other words,
play.
your strength of schedule was crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And so for them, it was just kind of like, we are not a bad team,
Right.
and I know our record might reflect a little differently, but I think our girls gained some confidence. I think we're gaining momentum. The one thing I said all year is we have far from peaked. We had far from even found kind of a rhythm. And I pray we haven't peaked, I think but I feel the confidence the girls are gaining, the momentum we're gaining. I think they're playing good volleyball. That SIUE team we played this weekend, I thought was a strong team. And I thought both teams played well Friday night. And on their side of things, that's hard to walk away with a loss when you look at statistically, they performed. And so I was really, really happy to see us respond this past week.
And in that first set against SIUE on Friday, they won that 25-15. What was said and what were some of the changes made in that moment to come back and then make that a 5-set win?
Yeah, after that first set, you kind of take a breath, and in your head, you're thinking, oh, no. Like, no. We, knowing what we need to do to, finish where we want to finish. As far as this part in the season, we're looking at where can we finish to be seeded going into tournament. And so it was, we had found a lineup that worked for a couple matches, and, we didn't go away from that lineup entirely, but we just made a couple adjustments to maybe give us a little bigger size on the block. Haley Paulino's been running a 5-1, and she's a little setter. And occasionally you're going to come across teams. SEMO did it, picked it apart. SIUE did it on Friday, not Saturday. We were able to leave her most of the game Saturday, but we had to go to a bigger block there. Made a couple changes just based on someone not performing as well as they needed to. And fortunately, those girls stepped up when their number was called. And we've talked about that all year is, our job as coaches is to find a way to win. And if something's working, we're going to stay there. And it's not personal. But when your number's called, we need you to step up and fill that role.
And I think someone that stepped up, Jenna Valley, at 12 kills in the final 4 sets against SIUE. You had the names that you normally see, Haley, Kayla Bryant, Olivia Saunders, but Jenna steps up. I mean, how big was her contribution, and what do you see from her going forward?
Huge on the weekend. We know when we recruited Jenna, she transferred in from a junior college. She's scratching the surface on her potential, but there's been some training things that just block footwork that we have been trying to hammer all year and struggled to get there, and you're starting to really see her kind of come into her own. I was really proud of her for stepping up this weekend. I think Jenna can be a great, great player. There's still, some parts of her game that we're working on tightening up a little bit. But I thought she stepped into that role both Friday and Saturday and performed very well.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
The Skyhawk Sports Talk Podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
We got Coach Simpson joining us now. Here is UT Martin coming off a shutout win against Charleston Southern on homecoming. UT Martin gets their first shutout since 2017 and also their 6th straight win. Defense dominant, and their coach only 1 penalty on the day. Had to be happy about that after Eastern Illinois. I mean, just your thoughts on the win, the offense coming up in the 4th quarter and putting that game away.
No, very happy with the kids and excited for them to get a homecoming win. And, you're right. Only have 1 penalty. That's good, and maybe my conversation with the officials worked before the game because going into that game, we were the most penalized team in the league. Mm-hmm. And our opponents combined against us were the least penalized team in the league, and so brought that to attention.
It's a really interesting stat.
Yeah, how about that? So, anyway, I don't think they had anything.
But you go back. I mean, not that you're picking on the officials. You go back and watch the film.
Yeah.
So you see all the things that go uncalled.
Yeah.
And then all the things that are called. And all you want as a coach is consistency, right?
Well, the point I brought up was this, and like I said, it may have had no bearing on anything, okay? Because there is certainly human element that goes into this. I think there's times, right, that Damon Dodson's a good football player, right? And you say, well, that's – he's a good player. That's not holding on him, right? Yeah, because you kind of, okay, there's number 1. He's on the edge right there. He should be good enough to, get off of that. Okay, and then maybe somebody else that gets called to holding because he's not as good a player, mm-hmm. and their body gets turned a certain way and stuff. So it sort of looks like on tape sometimes. Yeah. So anyway, but no, very good job by our players. Only have 1 penalty, no turnovers. Okay. And that defense was solid.
They were really good.
You knew that watching on tape. Holding Kennesaw State to 10 points, holding Lindenwood to 10 points or whatever it was. Holding, we talked last week, William and Mary to 12 or 15 points. Okay, and after playing them now, you see why. They run to the football. They got a solid scheme. They don't beat themselves, and that's kind of how it went. Now, when you watch the tape, you see there's things that we had opportunities that we didn't take advantage of. We had some, some guys open. We didn't hit them. We ran some plays into some bad looks that we expect our quarterback to be able to handle that blitz check and get us to a better play. So you certainly left some things out there. Not to take any credit away from Charleston Southern's defense, but we got to execute better. We know we've got to execute better, and if we don't, it puts our defense in a bind. Now, very proud of our defense to get the shutout. 2 things. One, their offense had not been very good up to this point. They had been very average. They're playing a freshman quarterback who I think will be a good player going forward. But, to mentally not have a letdown when you know you should be playing well against them. Statistically, for 6 games, this is what they've been. Okay, so statistically, here's where you've been. So, but you can't listen to that. You can't just read into that. You have to go and do it, and you have to go and play. And so, very proud of our defensive staff and our defensive players to not have a letdown. They were very hungry to get that shutout. Jalen Sharp, one time we had a substitution issue, and I took a timeout because we looked a little bit discombobulated. And, he was furious, not with me, but just with the little bit of confusion of getting subs on and off, okay, because he didn't want to give up a first down. And the play before, they had a guy running open and just couldn't get it to him, and he had seen that. And, his reply was, I want to get this shutout. Let's get this thing organized, ready to go. So the mindset was there, the execution was there, and I also think as our defense was watching the flow of the game and surprised that we're only up 3-0 at halftime, it kept them focused in the second half that, hey, we can't have a lapse here. Right now our offense doesn't have it going. This is a defensive game, and all of a sudden we give up a play, guys. We're behind, and so so appreciate their maturity. Good homecoming win, and get us to 3-0 in the conference.
And, I thought it was weird early because, again, in a defensive battle like that, I felt the energy level was low. I wasn't on the field with you. I was from their team, maybe our team at times. It appeared that way. There just wasn't a lot of going on because there wasn't a lot of offense. But you created energy in the second half. Like you flipped that script.
Well, it's hard when you're going some 3 and outs, or you're, getting a drive or two, and then you kind of sputter a little bit.
I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming our crowd.
Well, yeah, and I don't,
But that's the truth.
Yeah. I mean, everybody wants to see offense.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little laid back crowd because I think, I've got a lot of backhanded compliments in the last 48 hours. Great, ugly win.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we've created those expectations, and that's okay, right? We're still 10th in the country in total offense or whatever it is, but the last 3 games have been challenges for us. And now we're playing better defenses. Some things are on tape and tendencies you don't get out there. So you have to meet those expectations and execute at such a high level. But no, there was this is a pretty mature team. And as we talk, this week will be a little bit different when I say that because of the caliber of team that we're playing. When the players turn the tape on and see, I won't have to say a whole lot about getting themselves ready to play because the team we're playing this week is the best FCS team we've played to this point. Not even close. Okay, their defense is. The tape looks like it's sped up. Okay, they've got good players. I think I saw 6 or 7 seniors or graduates on their defense. It's a defense that went into the second round of the playoffs last year. Who won a game and got to the second round. I believe I'm correct on that. So it's a challenge, and it's on the road.
And Gardner-Webb, of course, Coach, talking about them. Very good football team, preseason pick number 2 in the Big South OVC. But just talking about more about Charleston Southern, I mean, brought that tough test on defense. He talked about that. Your defense was up to the call. Tevin with 9 tackles. Josh Hastings, good game from him, especially after he had been injured. Yeah. Calvante's got a pick as well. And this group just suffocating the opposing team. I mean, what was their mentality going into the day? I mean, you talked about their offense not being the best. But still, they went in there and with a chip on their shoulder because I know everyone's been talking about Sam and everyone's been talking about the offense. But they went in there and they got the job done defensively and made it very difficult for them to move the football.
No, a couple things. One, we're starting to our younger defensive linemen are starting to come on. All right, so that allows Jared Johnson and Jay Rogers and Dot to get some blows. Okay, and we're not dropping off in caliber of players. When we make that change, okay? Perk, he plays harder and he's starting to play his technique and responsibility a lot better, and his effort right now is unmatched, and we're very excited about that. He's a redshirt freshman, and then Burton, as a true freshman, has been playing, and so very pleased with that group.
That's such a subtle thing that a lot of fans don't realize. Yeah. But when your younger players are better, the more playing time players get a chance to rest, which makes them stronger in the fourth quarter.
Well, and if you know that you're going out there as a defensive lineman to play 50 plays, okay, There's times where, I'm blocked, okay, but as long as I'm in my gap, I'm okay. But if you know that you might be coming out, if you know that, if you just had a 3-play rest, whatever, then you may split that double team and not only do your job, but add something else extra to the play. So that's the advantage of playing a lot of players, and there's a lot of investment throughout the week of when you know that you got a chance to get into the game. Getting Hastings back was big for us. He's a very good player. Been out for roughly around 3 weeks. Okay, and so for having him play a significant part of the game is a boost for us back there. And Key's a veteran. It's good to see him getting an interception. I mean, it's hard when you go from one program for I guess he was there for 5 years to another program. It's hard. Now I think it helped him with Tank. They're brothers, same dad, and that's been an easier transition for him. But that's a different deal, and he's had nothing but great, mature words of advice for our team when he would see us maybe hitting a lull in practice or some things that need to be said. And he did it in such a mature way, so very happy to see his production.
And Gardner Webb this week, a long road trip, 8 hours to Bowling Springs, North Carolina. And looking at the stats, they look very similar to UT Martin. They've got a good ground game. Quarterback is pitching in some yards with his legs as well. And I want to talk about Kincaid. What are some of the things you saw from this past week that impressed you, and just some things that he can improve on?
Well, the thing that I love about Kincaid, I mean, first of all, the guy's has won 6 games in a row as a starter. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's a competitor. He's tough. He's not about. He'll do whatever's necessary to win the game. He doesn't come in and say, "Why aren't we throwing it 45, 50 times?" No, he's a great teammate, and he's a competitor, and he's tough. Okay, so those are some really good things, and he made some plays throughout the game that got us over the hump. All right, but there's other plays that we need him to make, and that's starting this week against better defenses that we need him to pitch in the pass game. We were looking at some different stats because you're always trying to find different ways to present things to guys, right? Okay. Right, and I think there was 5 to 7 times that the ball could have been checked down, all right, which would have got us, at least 5 more completions, okay, whether it was a play action or whatever. Now, and they're not all on the quarterback. The back was on the wrong side one time, and the ball got batted down, okay. But those are things that we need him to do better. We need to coach him better. We need to help him do those to keep those drives going and get those completions.
For you as the play caller, how do you make sure you're playing to this team's strengths? Sam's run the ball well. Kincaid winning this team games, also pitching in with his legs as well. But how do you keep this offense balanced? Because I know there are people out there that say, well, why not just run with Sam every play because he's so talented? But obviously he's human. He needs a break. Yeah. And also you need to keep defenses guessing with throwing the football as well. So what are some of the challenges that you're presented with in play call?
Well, a couple of things. One, you want to make sure that you're when you look at your percentages, are you 80% run on first down? Or, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. And for us to be, at least 75-25 run the pass first down, I could live with that. You'd rather be probably 60-40, okay? Second down, we're probably big run. Second long, we're probably big run, and then third down just depends on the down and distance.
You're really wanting to not only keep the defense on their heels, but the other coaching staff.
Oh no, absolutely no more that. Yeah, because they're going to call certain to prevent the pass or for the run or whatever. So you're always looking at those type of things. But then again, at the end of the day, we have to put ourselves in formations that. Okay, whether it's run or pass, we still have good numbers if we choose to run it. Run or pass, we still have the coverage, 1 or 2 of the coverages that we're wanting to get out of this formation. Okay, so that part is kind of universal in college football. The thing that we need to do a better job, I need to do a better job, is other people got to consistently chip in and be part of the offense. Okay, by this point we know who can run with the football in their hand. What I mean by that is a guy like Rucker. Okay, we've got to get the ball in his hands more. Did you see it? The little screen we threw to him ended up in man coverage, so his guy not blocked. The quarterback should have seen it, but he didn't, and Rucker breaks like 5 tackles. And it's only a 6 or 7 yard gain, but it's a huge gain. Could have been a 5 yard loss. All right, but he's proved to us that he's good with the ball in his hand. He's a very physical player. Tank, we got to get it in Tank's hand more. Marlon Cook, because he's big and strong, we got to get it in his hand more. DJ Nelson has got the best hands on the team. Okay, so when you get in the red zone, it's how do we get DJ the ball, because he's proved he'll catch the football in traffic. So there's different things. Now, the game dictates it, all right? But early in the game, and nothing against our other backs, nothing against our other players, okay? But there's got to be more of guys that proven this point that they've earned the right to touch the football, and you've got to be able to get it to them with an opportunity to get first downs.
And on defense, you talked about it with Coffee with Coach a few weeks ago. That there was a fumble from Glover Cook. No bad body language on the sidelines. He recovers his own fumble, and the defense, they strap it up and they're ready to get back on the field. Offensively, the defense might give up some touchdowns, but the offense is ready to get back on the field, get those points back up on the board. How special is it for you when you have guys on both sides that focus in on doing their specific job and doing it well?
No, it's very rewarding. Tony was asking me when he came in that one of the new players that walked on our program, I think, had an academic meeting with him, and I guess they were talking about how things go. And the kid just joined us, a couple weeks ago, and I thought this was a great compliment to our players and to the culture of the program. He said, and I guess it was last week we were 5-1, before this game. He said, at practice, some days you wouldn't know if we were 5-1 or 1-5. Okay, so that was a very much a credit to the players. Not that the atmosphere is bad or whatever, but our philosophy is kind of been, we're not so good and not so hungry for success that if we got to eat off the floor for that success, right, we'll eat off the floor.
Well said.
Right? Okay, and that's you really can't go wrong with that type of mentality in anything in life, right? You've never arrived. You never take anything for granted, and so there's times I have to remind them, hey, that doesn't look like you're so starving for success that you'll pick that cookie up off the floor, and not wait for somebody to bring you. A new one.
I love that.
Love it. Well, Coach, good luck this weekend against Gardner Webb. We'll see you there in Bowling Springs. Should be a fun match.
Are you doing this one on Zoom, or are you actually driving now?
We're driving this. We're driving. Alex and I are hitting the road.
You know what? You're starting to develop that Skyhawk mentality. I'm digging this. He's not taking a flight or anything.
No.
You're eating off the floor, man.
Hey,
Let's
that's
go.
what it is. Got to eat off the floor. Eat off the floor.
And today's his
Eat the
birthday.
scraps.
Hey, happy birthday,
Thank you,
man.
Coach. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. It's good to know that. 19?
The Skyhawk Sports Talk Podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
I went to current events, which I normally don't do. I normally keep my news sources just to Sports Center and everything like that, and that's normally where I stay. But I went to current events for this one. So at a Philadelphia Phillies baseball game, someone showed up with a support animal that was an alligator. And so it got me thinking, obviously an alligator, I know that's a therapy animal, whatever, but an alligator has nothing to do with the Phillies. It has nothing to do. What is a Philly? I have no idea.
I like that you say it's a therapy animal. I do
I'm about to
not
say,
think of an
no,
alligator.
that's like
Therapy
having
animal.
that's
An
like
emotional support.
Yeah.
alligator.
Bite you? I
Gonna
don't
cause
know.
others to need emotion.
Exactly. Like, it makes no sense. But so it got me thinking about teams' mascots not lining up. Alabama Crimson Tide, but they have an elephant. The Auburn Tigers, but they have War Eagle. Tennessee's the Volunteers, but they have a dog as their mascot. So if UT Martin was to change their name from the Skyhawks, what would the mascot be? What would you all choose the mascot to be?
Anybody?
Who wants to go first?
I'm going to go Skyhawks for life.
Come on.
I'll say frappe, a horse. We'll have frappe.
Is it okay.
Frappes?
You, the fighting frappes.
The fighting frappes.
Yes.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. I love that. Okay.
Me personally, we'll be the Bulldogs, and we will be black and red, and
Yeah.
it'll be because it's so intimidating.
Yeah.
Like
So
all
like
black.
Georgia?
Think about the football team, all black. With
I feel
little,
like you're creating
little
a
red
whole
accent.
new school.
No,
Black
no,
and
no,
red.
No,
Yeah.
I just think.
It just sounds like SEMO or Gardner Webb.
No, but we're all Hawks in the OVO. only see that everybody's a bird.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, they got the
everyone is a
Red-
bird.
Well,
Everyone-
we
We are
were
the
the Skyhawks
Skyhawks.
before they were the Red Hawks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
play the Bulldogs in Fresno and in Georgia, so
Yeah.
that would be 3 of us.
But
But
they
everyone-
would. They wouldn't.
They would be gone?
They wouldn't
Okay.
matter.
But that's right. Everyone, I feel like everyone's the Bulldogs
Yeah.
or everyone's the Hawks in this conference. So okay,
We
I
don't
like
have any
that.
basic animals.
Like a tiger
Yeah.
or like.
Well, we have
Well, no,
tiger. 'cause
this
he
is
has
what
tiger
I
and
was
a
thinking
panther,
actually, and I'm not a coach, but I was thinking we could be the praying mantises, and then no one would know where they stood with us because those are very confusing animals. Coach Varga.
Yeah, what have you got?
Well, I'm not very creative with this kind of stuff.
Okay.
I like the Skyhawks, but homecoming weekend last week, I found out that we used to be the Pacers.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
did.
We did.
And I didn't know that until last weekend.
Yeah.
So
The horse
I don't
and
know what a
carriage.
pacer is.
It's the horse and carriage.
It's a pacer trotter, so when you
All right.
you would race in a what are they called? Like a I don't know.
Yeah.
I know
Carriage.
I know that
A
some
buggy,
of the
a buggy.
alumni
Yeah.
they still wish we were the Pacers.
very
but
passionate
I like
about
the
it.
Skyhawks.
Yeah.
They're very passionate about it. Who would you go with? Chris?
We'd be the praying mantises.
The praying mantises. See, what I would do is the rodeo team has the like cow as the logo. I would make us the Cowboys, and then we would also be the Cowgirls for the other teams as well, like Oklahoma State does. Oklahoma State has it both ways.
I'm trying
So-
to envision like the picture of the praying mantis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
like,
like.
with the legs
What would our
out.
colors be?
Do we still have the same colors, or are we going?
You'd
green?
almost have to be green, wouldn't
Like
you?
from Kung Fu Panda.
Yes, that one. Yes, Mantis from Kung Fu Panda.
I love
Well,
it.
thanks to all of our coaches for joining us up here for one final segment here at the Zaxby's and Martin. Chris, any final thoughts?
No, just excited. Great job, coaches. Looking forward as the season wraps up. We got a little ways to go, and excited about this week. It's a great week to be a Skyhawk.
Always a great week to be a Skyhawk, praying mantis, bulldog, whatever, cowboy, cowgirl, whatever we want to call it. And we want to thank everyone for tuning in, of course, on the Skyhawk Sports Talk podcast. God bless from the Zaxby's and Martin.